bars. Guys, I've been doing rack pulls for years. I've been doing rack pulls ever since I bought my power rack. Okay, I bought my power rack 8 years ago, I believe. So I've been doing rack pulls ever since then. They were mainly below the knee and then at knee level, because that's what I found would have the most carryover to my conventional deadlift. And then I believe it was about 2, maybe even 3 years now. Maybe 3 years I started doing it higher, and it mainly was for grip strength. And then I believe it was about 2 years ago I started doing them, the very high rack pulls with the straps on, and I realized that, wow, I could move, over 1,000 pounds very easily. And I really thought that that was going to be like the magical recipe for just insane strength and upper back gains, because the soreness from them is unreal. And as I got stronger with them and I adapted to the movement, became more efficient at the movement, that's when I got to, like, my best at the time was 1,328 pounds that I could hardly hold for a second, like at the lockout. And it was pretty much at that point that I realized that this movement is not the best, because, I mean, how do you get stronger at a point? Like, you can't put any more weight on the bar. Plus, I use a super heavy duty power bar that has no flex to it, no flex at all. My darker steel colored bar. The thing's rated for like 1,500 pounds plus, okay? And with the 1,300 plus pounds on it, this thing was starting to bend like a noodle. And that's when I realized, like, why am I doing that? I'm just gonna break my best power bar that I have just to get some more, and it's impossible to set up the exercise. Like, I would spend hours just trying to figure out how to get weight on, like hanging kettlebells and wrapping chains around it, when for some soreness for one rep, right? You also have to think that if one rep is causing this excruciating soreness in your traps and your neck, it's probably not the safest exercise, because at some point, like, something's going to give, something's going to snap. And I'm not even talking about your lower back. I think it is safe on the lower back, as far as I've, experienced, because I've never been super tight in my lower back after doing them. But something's going to happen with your shoulders, because there's so much weight, or your knees, because you're doing such a small range of motion, and it's not like a deadlift. There's no hip hinge involved. Like, you're squatting it up at that point, and your knees are like forwards. Your knees are like over your toes to squat it up with that directly upright torso to move that much weight. And I'm sorry, but if you're moving over 1,000 pounds very violently, or 1,300 pounds, like, your knees are going to give at some point. They're not indestructible. You can't avoid the question of injury. Like, injury will happen if you're pushing it that extreme all the time. And I've done some pretty reckless stuff, but there's a point where you just have to use common sense that maybe this isn't the best exercise. Now, I'm not saying, it's a great exercise. I'm really not saying it isn't, but I'm just saying that there's better stuff to do that's not going to take hours to set up, and that if you're really chasing that soreness, like, if you're just doing like cheat shrugs, when you're throwing it up with your legs, like, your traps have to catch it. Use the same theory as if you were doing like bodyweight squats versus like depth jumps, like plyometric wise. Like, it takes more strength to like catch that force. So it's not like it's the greatest exercise. I'm not saying it's the worst, but why would you? If you are at a point where you can't bend the bar, that means that you still have a lot of strength gains to make. You still have a base that you can build. And then once you get strong enough, you're going to be able to put enough weight on where you can bend the bar. So if you're going to a commercial gym, you're going to bend their bars. Like, there's no doubt about it. I have a super heavy duty bar that I was worried. The thing was starting to bend like a noodle. Luckily, it maintained its rigidity, but I do have another barbell that I bent, not from doing rack pulls. I bent from doing just one arm deadlifts with only 500 pounds. The thing bent, and I can't use it for anything now. If I try like benching with it, for instance, like, it seems like it's giving me like arthritis in my wrists, because it doesn't rotate, so the weight just feels terrible. So you're gonna destroy equipment to just get a little stimulus in your upper traps. And even if it was like the magical recipe for upper traps, then what's the magical secret for like your deltoids or for your mid and your lower traps? Like, balance is very important. Okay, I'm not I'm the one that started the craze, like with this, these super small range of motion rack pulls are the secret. Like, this is it. Like, if you go back on my Instagram, it was years ago that I posted that, and I legitimately believed it. But it's just like the program. The best program for you is what you're going to do and you believe in fully. So the best exercise is what you're going to consistently do and you're going to believe in. But I'm telling you that once you get strong enough, you can't do it anymore. So you know what I mean? Sure, I mean, do it for a bit, but once you get to the point where you're bending bars, or if you're figuring out ways to get more weight on, like for instance, when I was at Jujimufu's for our video that we did, that was for a joke, guys, because it literally took us about 2 hours to get the weight on the bar. We were wrapping chains, sandbags, tying dumbbells to the barbell just to get 1,300 pounds on, and it took the majority of the workout. And really, when you're focusing on doing that, like, you're losing focus and you're gonna lose drive doing that. And that's what my channel's about anyways. Okay, I don't want to be a channel that's about giving advice. There's so many other channels that do that. That's not my style. My channel, as I've said over and over again, is about advocating intensity and mindset, bringing energy. That's all it's about. I don't want to be considered a guru. I'm not. There's plenty I can learn, but I mean, ultimately, I preach the most simple thing possible, right? Specificity. If you want to get strong in a movement, do that movement. And that's another reason that I stopped doing those rack pulls in the first place. Like, when I started it, as I said, I thought it would have like awesome strength carryover to all the deadlift variations. And it doesn't, because it's not a deadlift. I mean, a rack pull below the knee is not a deadlift, obviously, either, but it's a partial deadlift. Whereas a super high rack pull is not a partial deadlift. Your torso is completely upright and you squat it up. If anything, it's like it's more similar to like a hack squat, but the bar's in front. But it can be in front because you're starting so high. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like a 1/8 range of motion squat. And once you get so much weight on the bar anyways, like, you should just progressively increase the range of motion with it. Once you get to a point, that's something else that I've realized. Like, there's no point to go over 1,000 pounds. Your traps are not going to continuously get bigger with the more weight you move. Like, there's going to be a limit. Like, and your body works in balance, right? You can't just get gigantic traps. So then, if you get the traps of a 1,300 pound deadlifter, what's your body going to look like? In terms of like your chest and your shoulders and your arms. You're going to have these traps up to your ears and then you're going to look like a pencil. You know what I'm saying? So like, if that was the secret, then you better find the secret for every other muscle group as well. There's really no secret. It's just intensity. And I'm sorry, like, I'm not taking sides at all. I just preach what I've learned, my experience. And that's one of the reasons I set up my channel in the first place, was for you guys to follow along with the things that I do and to see what works and what doesn't work. And over all these years that I've been doing it, the conclusion is, if you want to get strong at something, just do that thing. That's what's going to have the most carryover. That's why I do one exercise every day, because then you master the craft, you master the movement pattern. That's the fastest way to get really strong at something. You're never going to progress constantly, or like, you know, it's never like you're inevitably going to burn out, plateau with that movement, but then you can switch to something else that has decent carryover that you can keep building, all right? And that's a fun way to approach lifting. But as I was saying, what is the point of doing the really high rack pull then? We've already talked about the muscles, so like the strength. So you're gonna get super strong at doing it in the small range of motion to the point where you can't put any more weight on the bar, you're destroying the bars, and then you're risking like the integrity of your knees or your shoulders. That's inevitable. That's inevitable. That's gonna happen. You're going to be the master at the rack pull. And that's fine. If that's what you want to do, honestly. To each their own. Like, for me, I wanted to be the master at behind the back deadlifts, Jefferson deadlifts, Zurcher deadlifts, all that stuff. And that leaves me to point out that other people are saying, like, do these conventional lifts. Like, you guys got to understand that the reason that I focused on these odd lifts in the first place was not to replace conventional lifts. I don't know how much more sincere I can be about this. I have never preached one movement better than the other. I certainly do think that a back squat is going to have good carryover to a conventional deadlift, or like a sumo deadlift might have some carryover to a back squat, and that maybe they're better base builders than behind the back deadlifts, Zercher deadlifts. Okay, I trained athletes for 6 years. Now I changed careers, but that's what I've been doing for 6 years. I always had people do the basics. So I'm not trying to replace the basics with odd lifts. The only reason that I've been doing odd lifts was to be the best at them. That's it. Okay? I'm not trying, people are like, oh, you're trying to be like Eddie Hall. How am I trying to be like Eddie Hall? Eddie Hall's twice my size, first of all. I don't even do any strongman lifts because I've rack pulled 1,300 pounds and he's deadlifted, whatever, 1,300 pounds or something like that. That is so much stronger than what I've done. That has never been my intention. People calling me out are clearly just haters and trying to find a reason to hate on me. Because I've told you over and over again, the only reason that I've done these certain lifts and put so much into them and so much intention and so much focus was just to be the best at them. To do weights that no one has ever done with these movements. Which is why I've already done that with a lot of stuff. So I don't have the drive to do that anymore. So by all means, I would probably focus on bench press next. Conventional flat bench press. Maybe even a conventional deadlift, because I finally have gotten to the point where I'm losing drive to do all these other odd lifts because I've already done them all. And I've done a pretty good job at establishing what these movements are for the masses and getting really strong at them. That's 100% truth and honesty. So that revolves back to the point. If you want to be the greatest rack puller, you want to do a 2,000 pound rack pull or whatever it may be, that's fine. But you're not going to be able to do it at a commercial gym. Because first of all, the barbells will not be able to handle it unless they're specialty like squat bars that are extremely rigid, can handle 2,000 pounds, and you have very thin plates, like those red Ivanko plates. Other than that, it's just not going to work. You're not going to be able to do it. You're going to fall short of your goals because it just won't make sense. All right, that's my whole point in the first place, guys. And that's why I made the comments that I did. I'm not taking sides. I don't want to be involved in politics and drama. I don't care about that. My channel, again, is about intensity, hard work, simplicity, specificity. But if people are going to start associating me with a certain movement, saying that I advocate for these and that, well, he does them, that's not, I have to comment. I have to put my foot down because I don't believe in that. That's all that it is. I don't want to take sides. I've never asked for anything from anyone. I appreciate, like Alex, I appreciate him pushing me out there. All right, and he's gotten me attention. That's amazing, and I'm forever going to be grateful for that. But I don't want to take sides, so don't think that that's what I'm doing. I don't care about that. I just want to preach the truth, and in my opinion, there's way better options to go, better routes to go, and if you want to be the master of rack pulls, great, be the master. I wish you success, but you're going to have to buy 1,500 plus pound rated barbell, which is not hard to do. Go on eBay. There's those Titan power bars for under $200 if I'm not mistaken. I bought my power rack for, I think it was $100 used. Okay, it's not going to be expensive. And if you want to be the master of a lift in the first place, then you're probably pretty driven, pretty committed to lifting. And if that's the case, then I couldn't highly recommend enough just getting a home gym. It was the best decision I've ever made, the best investment I've ever made. You don't have to continuously waste money on a gym membership. It's like buying a house versus renting. Buying a house, there's more value in the long run. Renting, you're just flushing your money away. So that's that guy. I have to put my foot down when I have to put my foot down. Sayonara.